I am David Vitale, President of the Chicago Board of Education, and on behalf of my fellow board members, I welcome you to today's Chicago Board of Education meeting. Today is July 24th, 2013, and we are holding this month's meeting here at the Board Chambers, 125 South Clark. We'll follow our normal order of agenda in today's meeting. Madam Secretary, please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Mr. President. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The regular meeting of Wednesday, July 24, 2013 is hereby called to order. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Thank you, Mr. President. Dr. Beenan?
Here.
Dr. Hines?
Yes.
Dr. Escoitia?
Present.
President Vitale?
Present. 4
members present. There is a quorum. I would also like to recognize Dr. Barbara Bird Bennett, our Chief Executive Officer, and Mr. James Bebley, our General Counsel. Thank you.
We will now begin with the Honoring Excellence segment of our meeting. Today we will recognize exceptional school performance on the ISAT scores, which was given to students in grades 3 through 8 across the state back in March. Each of the schools recognized today has had an increase of 8 or more percentage points on the composite exceeds measure, truly a mark of excellence in student performance. The 7 schools we recognize today represent the diversity of quality school options across the district and come from 6 different elementary school networks. CEO Barbara Bird Bennett will now introduce each of the principals or their representatives and give a brief description of how each school achieved the excellence we honor today. Barbara?
Thank you, President Vitale. Before I call the names of the schools and the principals, I want to take a moment to congratulate the teachers, students, and parents for an incredible school year in the midst of substantial change. I want to also acknowledge the changes in this year's ISAT process. Not only did ISB raise the minimum score students need to meet or exceed expectations, but 20% of the test was compiled with questions tied to a more rigorous curriculum, our Common Core state standards. As you saw last week, even against these higher standards, our students performed remarkably. While we can all agree that there remains lots of room to grow in our performance, we can also agree that thousands of more students are moving in the right direction toward a place that will help them become better prepared for college and career. The first school we recognize is Prescott, where Dr. Erin Roche is principal in the Fullerton Network. Dr. Roche is out of town, but Assistant Principal Amanda Mulch is here representing the Prescott team. Prescott increased their composite exceeds score by 12 percentage points by focusing on a formative assessment, process, and results which individualized instruction for all children. We also will recognize McDade from the Skyway Network, where Principal Daniel Perry is represented today by LSC member and McDade teachers, Ms. Yvonne Bonsi. McDade raised its composite exceed scores by 10.4 percentage points by focusing on assessment results from NWEA to inform instruction and set student goals. Forgive me if I mispronounce anybody's name. At Canty, Principal Kopek and her team attribute their success to data analysis using NWEA results and weekly hour-long enrichment blocks to get the 9.9 percentage points gains that they saw. Webster Principal Princetta Preston says that her amazing and dedicated staff constantly collaborates to improve student outcomes by understanding students' instructional needs and making learning enjoyable and fun. In addition, she credits the Garfield-Humboldt Network with providing excellent guidance to inform instruction in literacy, math, and science. And this helped contribute to Webster's 9.3 percentage point gain. Coonley Principal Greg Zawoski and his team provided individual student support based on NWEA data and group students for follow-up math and literacy support to get the 8.7 percentage point gain on the 2013 ISAT. At Pershing East, Dr. Antonia Hill and the Pershing team focused closely on aligning instruction to the Common Core and providing differentiated instruction to students in every classroom. And the results? Pershing composite exceed scores increased by 8.6 percentage points. At Dixon, Principal Sharon Dale and her team made it a priority to differentiate instruction using scaffolding and modeling techniques and encourage teacher-student discourse to build a positive and challenging learning environment for all of her students. Dixon's 8.3 percentage point gain is a testimony to the efforts of Principal Dale and the support of the teachers at her school. Please, everyone, join me in a round of applause for these leaders and these teachers who do excellent work. Again, on behalf of the district, I want to thank all of you for your tireless efforts to provide students an equal access to high-quality education. And at this time, I invite representatives from each of the schools honored today to share a brief word with the board and with our community about your students or your team representing, and I'll start with Prescott.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Amanda Malsh, and I am thrilled to be the AP at Prescott, to be able to work alongside very talented teachers like Amanda Kirshner and Maggie Moran. On behalf of Principal Dr. Aaron Roach and the Prescott community at large, I thank you for this prestigious acknowledgement. It highlights the hard work of students and teachers and the collaboration among parents and teachers. Thank you again for this recognition. The Prescott community looks forward to continuing its student academic and social emotional growth so that students are at grade level or above grade level on their way to college prep high schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good morning. My name is Yvonne Bonesey from the McDade Classical School. Okay, good morning. My name is Yvonne Bonesey from the McDade Classical School, and I'm here to represent my principal, Mr. Daniel Perry, and the entire McDade family. And we like to thank you for recognizing our dedication and hard work to our students and our parents. And so we humbly and accept this recognition with humility and thanksgiving. Thank you.
Thank you. Canty?
Good morning. I'm Greg Zarowski from Coonley Elementary School. It is a great honor to be here today. Our presence is reflective of the collaborative and collective efforts of the Coonley community. We are proud of our students and look forward to their future successes. At Coonley, we strive to create an educational environment where teaching and learning are collaborative, energizing, and interactive. We want our students to be scholars who reflect on their academic achievements, are motivated towards post-secondary opportunities, and seek new challenges, and lastly, provide service to their community. We would like to thank our committed and talented faculty, our dedicated and caring parent community, and our creative, energetic, and talented students. Our tagline at Coonley is that we always hope to have is that we are a place where kids love to learn. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Ucia Mirowska-Kopek, principal at Kenty Elementary School. I'm standing in front of you very humble, representing the wonderful Kenty School community where students, teachers, parents, LSC work very close together in changing the school or bringing the school to the highest levels of excellence. We're trying to do whatever we can with less. We're overcrowded, but we're trying to work very hard. I would like to, in front of the Board of Education, recognize our wonderful teachers who tirelessly work, analyze data, and try to provide support and instruction based on students' individual needs. We really pay attention to every single student. And as I said, we work very closely with our parents, with our LSC. I also would like at this point to recognize our network staff with our chief of staff, chief of schools, Anna Alvarado, who with her team supported Kenty School very much. And we are here because of their support and of very hard work of our teachers. Thank you very much, and it means very much to our community to be recognized this way. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Sharon Dale, and I'm the principal of the fabulous Dixon Elementary School. And on behalf of my staff, because that's the only reason I'm standing here, because of the teachers I work with every day, and my LSC and my parents and students, I say thank you, thank you, thank you. I do want to mention my chief, because we've been a network without a chief for about 4 years, back and forth. And my chief is LaTanya McDade, and she is smart as a whip. And she has really pushed me to the limits. And that, I'm sure that's had a lot to do with what we've done. And I do want to share with you, if you want to know more about our school, there is a documentary out, Curators of Dixon School. It's playing in the mayor's library programs right now. It won Best Documentary at Gene Siskel Theater last year, showed 3 times, 3 screenings. And it's going to be at Cole Park, August the 11th at 6 o'clock. So if you want to know about Dixon, come and see our documentary, because we're going to go to the Canaans. Thank you.
Good morning, Board President as well. I am Dr. Antonia Hill, and I would just be remiss if I did not acknowledge my teacher, who was my former colleague. We taught together, and I want to attribute a lot of our success to our teachers, and I think we would be remiss if we did not really give honor to whom honor is due for their hard work and tirelessly effort of striving to want to make sure our students succeed, not just some, but all of them, the LSC as well as the parents that have supported us. And also I did not announce or honor my chief as well, John Price, who allowed me the autonomy to do what I did best, and that was to lead and have a staff that supported me in that leading. Thank you all.
I guess I'm the last one. Thank you, first of all, for the honor, and we really appreciate it. I'm Princetta Preston. I'm the principal of the Webster Hansberry School. I just feel so honored, but as in the words of my amazing former chief, Mrs. Little, it's a job that you cannot do by yourself. So I have a wonderful staff of teachers, like my 6th grade teacher, Aaliyah Townsend, who came with me today, and we're a team. We always have been. And so in our village, our children come first, and we do have amazing support from our network, Ms. Washington, but at home is where it begins in our school. So I just want to thank all of the, thank you for this honor on behalf of my amazing teachers, my marvelous children, and our community and parents. Thank you so much for this honor.
Thank you all for your performance. Thank you for coming down today. And thank you for reinforcing for us, the importance of your staff and your teachers and your success and your community. We really appreciate that those are critical elements to your success, but we're also proud of the leadership that you principals provide for them. So thank you very, very much for the work that you've done, and we look forward to it continuing.
Mr. President, may I add just something? I really want to congratulate all of you for demonstrating this student growth and the results. We know it's the quality of the classroom, and we say it takes a village. Well, the village people are here because it takes that school community to make it happen. I do want to make a special mention. Antonia was my intern at Spry for 1 full year. Oh. And I don't know if I had that influence. I wish, because she was very talented. But I am very proud of her today. Thank you.
Kyle is taking credit for you. That's okay. That's right. It's all right. We'll let him do that.
That's right.
Thank you very, very much. We appreciate it. Okay. Let's move on to the business portion of the meeting. And for that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Bird Bennett. Barbara?
Thank you, President Vitale and members of the board. Students across Chicago continue to make meaningful strides in core subject areas, including reading and mathematics, subjects that provide the foundation for a lifetime of learning. Last week, we reported that CPS students' results on the Illinois State Achievement Tests, the ISAT, showed steady growth over the last 12 years. And this morning, we recognized our top gainers in the Exceeds category from across the district. This progress reflects the hard work of students, parents, and our teachers who are in the classrooms each day. It reflects the hard work of leadership in schools across Chicago. I simply cannot say enough about our educators and the school leaders and their dedication to students, and they deserve a tremendous thanks from all of us. For the 2012-2013 school year, our students' scores in every subject improved across every grade level, tested for the third time since the ISAT was implemented in 2001. CPS student scores increased across all demographic groups, including those by race, gender, and English language learner status. Compared with last year, students in grades 3 through 8 meet and exceeds composite scores grew by 1.8%. 65% of all CPS elementary schools increased their meets or exceeds score. Our pioneer schools, these schools that were early adopters of the full school day, outpaced average district growth by 3 times on the composite meets or exceed scores, and by 3 times on composite exceed scores for each of the last 2 years since launching full school day. As members of this board know, this was the first year for implementation of the new, more rigorous ISAT performance level set by the Illinois State Board of Education. Additionally, this year's results reflect a different way in which the state is now tracking progress. Not only has ISB raised the minimum scale scores for meets or exceeds levels, but 1 in 5 of the questions on this year's tests were aligned to the more rigorous Common Core state standards. Yet, in spite of the new questions and the metrics, in spite of the changes being made mid-year, and in spite of a year filled with challenges and distractions, our students, our teachers, our schools continue to make steady progress on the ISAT. However, I'm not satisfied. We still have a tremendous amount of work to do to ensure that every child in every community succeeds at a high-quality, well-rounded education that they deserve. We will be measured not only by improved scores on standardized tests, but by ensuring that our students are equipped with knowledge and skills they need to become self-reliant thinkers, citizens, and leaders in our city. It is my pleasure right now to introduce the Chicago Public Schools Chief Accountability Officer, Dr. John Barker. And John will provide us with an analysis of this year's ISAT results. Dr. Barker?
Good morning.
Morning, John.
President Vitale, members of the board. We'll go through a quick slide deck here, just reinforcing what the CEO has just shown to you, we've announced in the community. I'd be remiss if I didn't say a big thank you to our Director of Performance Data and Policy, Mr. Ryan Crosby, and his excellent staff. One of the things that happens in the summertime, we get questions all the time. You work for Chicago Public Schools, that means you get the summer off. And it's like, in fact, in accountability, things seem to have ramped up quite a bit during the summertime, and that's totally to be expected. So what we're going to do is show you these slides here. And as our CEO just pointed out, the changes this year are very similar to what other districts and states around the country have done in terms of adjusting cut scores with anticipation of the Common Core state standards and the coming PARCC tests in 2014-15, really changing the dialogue, changing the landscape of public education in America, moving toward a more college readiness and rigorous focus that moves us away from some of those preconceptions and conceptions of NCLB status, where states really almost even had a rush to include everyone so that by the spring of 2014, all students would be deemed proficient. What happens now is the movement across the country where you see higher cut scores, higher expectations, and student scores reflecting those adjustments. But what's very, very critically important to remember about these results, and as the CEO has just said, and as we mentioned last week, the students and the teachers and the families contributing to a holistic preparation for the testing for this year in March actually showed growth against where they were in performance last year. That is, as the CEO said, remarkable. What we'll do is show you over the course of time how the cut scores for this year applied to previous years show a continual march upward and a progress that the district is having in grades 3 through 8 on these slides. What you see in this first slide, there are 539 schools that actually received an ISAT score in 2013. They're reflected here as the 350, or the 65% that actually showed growth and made improvement over the last year. There were 181 that went down, and then there were 8 that were flat on meets exceeds. And then on exceeds, you see the breakdown there as well. But I think it's important to note here that the trajectory of this line is a positive sloping upward line that, again, in other districts and other jurisdictions around the country, that is not necessarily what you see relative to the imposition of these new cut scores. In reading, the line went up. The first slide we saw was composite. In math, the line went up. In science, the line went up. And it's important to note that in science, the cut scores were not similarly applied in science this year, and that's been the trend across the country as well, that science basically has remained unadjusted. Math and reading are adjusted because those are the two subject areas that are going to be most focused on in the new Common Core and coming PARCC tests. And just kind of an FYI, if anybody's interested in knowing about it, the way that the composite gets put together, composite includes all the scores from grades 3 through 8 in reading and math. Science is given to students in grades 4 and 7. As our CEO pointed out, those pioneer schools, schools that have had extra time across the course of the past 3 school years, showed growth, and what you see is closing that gap between the district level performance and the performance of those specific schools identified as pioneers. What's important to note too is that this year there were extra minutes and hours and instructional time available for all students across the district, and because we see this pattern here, we are likely seeing that the impact of the full school day for all students this year was one of the reasons why our scores went up. Welcoming schools and sending schools, what you see here is essentially an average 10 percentage point difference between the sending schools and the welcoming schools, with the welcoming schools being higher. AUSL turnaround schools have been making progress against the district average, as shown here, outpaced the district average over the course of time. AUSL schools, turnaround schools, start off with a lower performing populace, but against the performance bars, they've made substantial progress. Charter schools, in the breakdown here, what you see is that charter schools and neighborhood schools have basically been on the same trajectory since the beginning of NCLB in 2001. And then, as our CEO pointed out, for only the 3rd time in the past 12 years, what we've seen is all subjects, all grades with an increase this year. That's substantial, that's exciting, and what it also suggests is that the people who were standing up here just a few minutes ago were joined by people across the district, thousands engaged in an effort to improve the rigor, to teach every student, and to move forward with regard to these higher expectations under Common Core. We saw grades 3 through 5, these are grades 6 through 8, pointing upward as a trajectory. What's interesting to note is as these impositions of higher cut scores have been seen across the country, what tends to happen is that achievement gaps previously identified under other cut score scenarios are sometimes widened. We saw that to a certain extent, a very small extent, with regard to the white African American achievement gap and the white Hispanic gap, but still just a minimal amount there. You see that females continue to lead, and across the course of the 12 years, that's a consistent pattern in terms of outperforming males. And then as far as ELL, non-ELL, there's a gap and an opportunity for improvement there as well. Pillar 1 of our new action plan establishes high standards, rigorous curriculum, powerful instruction as the key elements to a successful future for our students. These results, driven by more instructional time through the full school day, more teachers prepared in the Common Core state standards, and students who are clearly responding to the effective teaching they're being presented with. This suggests that we're on the right track for the next generation of Chicago's children. I'll gladly accept any questions that you might have.
Thank you, John. Any questions for John?
I
Appreciate
just had
it.
one
Oh, 1 second.
question. Just one question. When I was looking at the charter schools and the neighborhood growth, are these including the high schools? Or are they just elementary? I was just confused. Are they both? When you do the charter, are the charter high schools in here too?
These data are only reflective of grades 3 through 8.
Okay.
So those are the only students who would take the ISAT
Okay,
test.
right, okay. I got confused. Thank you. That was it.
Thank you, John.